Hello, Southwest Florida homeowners and homebuyers. Welcome to the 239 Real Estate Roundtable podcast, your go-to source for navigating the vibrant real estate landscape of our beautiful region. I'm your host, Kevin Tremmel, a local real estate agent, leader, and investor here in Southwest Florida. On this podcast, we bring you insights from best in the business, top-notch real estate professionals, seasoned agents, and experts in everything from homeowners insurance to mortgages, maintenance, and repairs. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer or a seasoned homeowner, we've got you covered with tips, strategies, and valuable insights to make your journey in Southwest Florida's real estate market a breeze. Get ready to unlock the doors to successful home ownership. This is the 239 Real Estate Roundtable podcast, where we demystify the process, share insider knowledge, and ensure you're well equipped to make informed decisions. Let's dive in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the 239 Real Estate Roundtable podcast. Today on the show, we have Kerry Hartman. Kerry is a local real estate agent here in Southwest Florida with Compass Real Estate. She also leads the Town Collective, which is her own team that she just started not too long ago. So I'm super excited to learn more about her journey and how everything is going. Welcome to the show, Kerry.
Well, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, why don't we get started like we usually do here on this podcast? And why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself? What brought you to Southwest Florida? What got you into real estate? What did you do before? And how are things overall in your business?
Sure. So I actually was in a totally different world. I was in the fashion world. I served as an executive who managed product for the most part. So that is everything from design, product development, commercialization, imports, merchandising. So anything from the inception of product down to consumer facing was my world. I worked for a plethora of companies, some popular ones, J. Crew, American Eagle. I ended my career in Michigan, and that was by choice. The last probably 10 years of my career, I was out of the US about 90% of the year. And, not just local, it was literally all over the world, India, Australia, New Zealand, all over South America, everywhere. And, that after a while, although sounds glamorous, can be very wearing on your body and your relationships because you're not home that often and all of those things. So I made the strategic decision to go into real estate, started in Michigan. My thought was, I love interior design and all things. I have a tremendous creative side to me, but also I am super, super, super analytical. My last business, one of my businesses, I shouldn't say my last, was almost $1 billion business. So, that's a lot of volume to be responsible for. I had built homes, bought homes, had investment properties, done a lot of interior design for others in their properties, and just thought it seemed to be a seamless transition for myself to go there. So I started out in Michigan, and how I ended up here was, I'm sure you know this, being in this area, but I would say the majority of my clients, probably 80%, buy second homes in our area. This is a very, very highly sought after vacation spot and second home area. What a lot of people don't know, that I just heard this stat the other day, excuse me, is Naples is one of the top cities in all of the US for second home buyers, meaning it is not their homestead property. So that's a real niche market in and of itself. In any case, they didn't love the real estate experience in the Florida side. They were really used to working with me and kind of my pace and, personality, whatever it may be, and asked for me to get my license in Florida to take care of them on both ends with all of their homes. So I did that and then became so busy in Southwest Florida. I still have my license in Michigan and I hang it there, but I really only do something if someone ask me specifically to do it for them or clients that I already have. I'm here in Florida. I'm here, 80% of the year or more. And this is just where I've grown the business.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, seems like a very, based on your background, seems like a very natural progression, almost like just a matter of time that, you got real estate as an agent based on like your background with investing and building and designing.
Sure.
that stuff. So, and then you're with Compass Real Estate. So tell us a little bit about them. What do you like? And was that kind of the first brokerage you went with that when you started real estate 4 years ago, or have you ever been with another brokerage? Shed some light on that.
Sure. So I have been with another brokerage. I was with Premier Plus Realty when I first started. It's a good entry-level brokerage. It became really quickly apparent to me that the higher level of agents, and I don't mean just in terms of volume, I just mean in terms of highly educated, really the easiest deals to do. Many of them were from Compass. Compass had for quite some time tried to get me to come over, as well as a few other Sotheby's, a few other agencies. I mean, let's just be frank, they all look at the volume that you do, and of course would like to have you on their team. The lure about Compass and what I love so much is it tends to be a very eclectic group of people. It tends to be more forward thinking, and definitely from a technological standpoint, the best. The absolute best. We just launched Compass One, which everyone will see on my Instagram, which now is a one-stop shop for all of our clients. You can get in there and see exactly where you are in the transaction. We send homes through there. It is pretty remarkable, and they spent millions and millions of dollars launching this. So, and it took 4 years for them to develop. So we just launched that this week, actually, Monday. And so, it just doesn't get any better. We have retreats twice a year that are super educational, informative. And the other thing that is super appealing about Compass versus other brokerages here are we are not a franchise model. So based on the new NAR rules and ability to share properties within your organization, we get to share private exclusives with 33,000 agents around the world. We also just partnered with Christie's in London because we are not franchised. Anyone else, based on the new NAR rules, if you have a private exclusive or an off-market opportunity, you are only able to share it with people within your office if you're a franchise model. It doesn't go beyond that. So for those reasons, our networking, certainly the people are amazing. I can't speak highly enough. I love being there.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds like it. And that's half the battle, right? I mean,
right.
And behind the, what the company stands for, I mean, that just translates to any kind of customer, that excitement. So, and you can tell with you're super excited about Compass, which is great. And then, so regarding the team, I know every brokerage kind of has their own little words, but I'm just going to call it a team because that's like universal. I know you're kind of in the beginning stages there, kind of taking that next step in your real estate business and your real estate career. How's that been going? I hear mixed things. Some of my friends that are in real estate that have been doing this for 20, 25 years, they've had teams and now they're downscaling again and you hear many different things, right? So I just wanted to know your experience and what's the vision for the Town Collective, right? Where do you see their journey going and what's the goal there?
Sure. So I would say that there was a lot to unpack there. I'd say first and foremost, it's your reason for building a team. For me, yes, could there be a monetary benefit? For sure, but that's not my impetus to do it. My impetus to do it is to take agents who really relish and appreciate the support and what I can lend to them in terms of negotiating, in terms of a proper way to word something in a contract, in terms of support when we go on a listing, all of those things. So my goal in starting a team was for the members on my team to be highly successful, not so much about what's in it for me. And I think if you're going into or starting a team with the approach of what's in it for me and how much money am I going to make, I can see that not having legs or longevity, where for myself, I guess the pieces of those, as they become highly successful, we all rise together, right? So I'm a big, we rise together and we fall together type of person. It's not about me. It's actually about them. So when I have a listing, I certainly want to if they do my open houses, put their picture on the brochure and see if they can catch a buyer, and or if anyone calls about the listing and has their number associated with it, I'm great with that, right? Because it helps foster their business and make them successful. So I think people's enjoyment or not of having a team is about the approach and what the intent of setting it up is, not so much a team's good or a team's not. Having a team is or isn't.
Yeah. I think, it's just where are you in your journey, right?
Correct.
And I like what you said, if you're doing it solely from a monetary perspective, I think it kind of maybe tends to fail. But,
Correct.
if you do it from like kind of what you're describing, like growing people and developing people from that kind of mindset and that background, and then obviously, if you do that and focus on that, the money is just that's going to come right naturally the way that it's set up. And
Correct. And even more importantly, as I explain, as the money comes, that doesn't mean it's coming straight to my wallet. What that means is we can do we can do more SEO. We can go to more conferences. We can do things with that money that just aren't so specific to myself or going straight to my bank account, but it's what can we do to reinvest and build the team further and build the success of everyone.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned one thing that you mentioned a little bit ago is the new NAR rules, lawsuit, whatever you want to call it, right? When they go into effect mid-August, so we're about
August 17th to be exact.
Yeah, August 17th. So we're 5-6 months in it now. I'd like to hear from you. How has, those things that have changed in regards to, working with buyers, working with other brokers, things like that. How has that changed the way that you work and kind of approach a buyer situation? Like, have you seen a lot of things change, or what's your opinion on it?
And probably so there's two parts to this. Do I like extra paperwork? No, I don't know who does, right? So just from a practical paperwork standpoint, it's another form. But do I like the ability to educate the buyers and also to articulate our value in a transaction? I do. And I also think that it will really weed out. I feel like the cream always rises to the top, right? And so I feel like the agents, teams, whomever that don't do a good job of articulating what their compensation is, why we earn it, and what we do in the transaction is important. It's important for everyone to understand. It's also a maturation process. So I have used that, the compensation has always been negotiable, will continue to be negotiable. On the sales side, as it used to be articulated in the MLS, what the compensation was by property was super. There was very little discussion outside of what that number was, right? And not that there couldn't be, there always can be, and had always, that opportunity was always there. It just didn't happen. This fosters the conversation. I like it because there are clients that I have worked with, and I'm sure you have as well, sometimes for super high-end properties for 2.5 to 3 years, and want to be fairly compensated for all of that time and effort and, finally landing on a property. So I love it. I love what it's done in terms of fostering the conversation on both the buy and sell side. There wasn't much conversation to be had prior to this being launched. And so I, for one, like it. I know I am in the minority, and that's okay. And, in terms of people on my team, I really encourage them, again, if there's people you've worked with for quite some time, to make sure you're fairly compensated for that.
Yeah, I like everything you just said. That's kind of pretty much my response to I'm in that minority with you. I actually like it too. Obviously, there's two sides to it, right? That more the MLS compensation and then the buyer broker agreement. But in regards to like the buyer broker agreement, I don't want to say it's a blessing, but it's such like a great tool if you use it right. I mean, for a lot of people, they don't know, but like this document's been around ever since I've been in real estate and probably for a lot longer. So it's not like a new document. Mm-hmm. And I was always told when I started real estate, you should get this signed like no matter what, right? I mean, it would have been best practice to get this signed even before August 17th of 2024, right? So
It would be. Here's two things I would say about that. It's really much more difficult to get something like that signed when other
Nobody.
agents are doing
Yep,
it, right?
exactly.
So that's the first piece.
Yep.
Second piece is I say that now. Our market has very much flipped, right? And we have a 50% more inventory than we did a year ago. And so it is more on you have more control on the buyer's side than you had 2 years ago. I imagine when it flips back into that crazy market that we have, you're going to have the majority of sellers saying we're not paying any compensation. Those are going to be harder conversations to have with buyers at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Because right now, not much has changed. A lot of sellers are offering compensation anyway, as they always had. And so it's just the amount of compensation that's more of the discussion.
Yeah.
I think this conversation will be very different when the market has switched significantly and people are getting 10, 11, 12 offers on a single home within days, and those sellers are more bullish and can call the shots a bit more. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. As it stands right now, I love it.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. We are obviously, every market in the United States is a little different, but down here, we are definitely transitioning, or are in a lot of areas already in a buyer's market. So, you're correct. We're like, the sellers now have to do more to get it. So, and that was kind of be one of my follow-up questions you answered already, because everybody, like, when this whole like change came, everyone was like freaking out. And so far, all I have seen, which is kind of what you're saying, I haven't really seen a change in how the money flows and who pays.
Right.
I've just seen more of a, like you said, discussion about the amount, but I've still seen the sellers are paying for it 99% of the time, and that is the buyer's commission. It's just the amount, right? And the amount is more of a negotiation, which is great. Obviously, America was founded on like free market and competition and things like that. But yeah, but it remains to be seen. Yeah, you're 100% right. Once we flip into a seller's market, and like you said, it's a week on market and we have 10 offers. But I think it just kind of adds to, and then it depends on what market, right? Like the Naples market, you're affording a second home in Naples and you live in Michigan. I mean, you probably have the money to pay your agent, your buyer's agent, right? More likely than not. You might not want to, but you do. But, we look into some first-time home buyer things, and then it becomes the discussion again, like, well, it's going to get even harder for first-time home buyers to get into it. But we'll see how it shakes out. Like I mentioned, we're only 6 months in here, so this is very early preliminary, but I'm glad you're the same mindset as me, and we've kind of seen and experienced similar things. But kind of switching gears a little bit here. So I wanted to also hear from you, especially in Florida. I don't know how it is other parts of the country, but in Florida, we have a lot of career transitions, right, into real estate, like you did, right? Teachers or whatever it may be. So I think it's interesting to learn from you, because you're one of them, right? I've done real estate ever since I graduated college, so this is really all I know. But for you, like, how did you make that shift from your previous job into real estate? And like, what skill sets did you have in your previous job that translate well into general real estate?
Sure. Again, there's a lot to unpack there, right? So I think first and foremost, being super analytical and accountable. When you are in the corporate world, every week is what have you done for me lately, right? There's no time to rest on your laurels, and so it really keeps you on your toes. I feel very similar about the real estate market, especially when it starts to move really quickly. And I feel not only a fiduciary responsibility, but also a responsibility to get my clients the homes they desire. And that, in some cases, you have to be a bit bullish to make that happen. And, whether I have left for one weekend to go do something, if something has hit the market, I make sure they get in there and they are seeing it, and that no time lapses, because it is a competitive market. And even though we have significant more inventory than we did, the good stuff still goes really quickly.
Yeah, the homes that are priced right, they're still going to sell.
They're still going to go really quickly. So I think that, and first and foremost, probably being able to speak articulately about the market, how to analyze the market, how to ensure that from everything that you see, a good investment is being made, and really being able to speak to higher level executives who a lot of whom buy homes down here, because that's the world I lived in. And I appreciate being able to speak to them in a way they're used to being spoken to in that kind of corporate environment. So I think that has really behooved me well. And I think the other thing is, having managed people is really having personnel skills to adapt to all types of personalities. You get all types of personalities down here, right? And everyone has their different buttons, things they like, things they don't like. So I think really being able to adapt to that and to have people on my team, figuring out what are the motivating factors for them as well, and using those to catapult them forward. All of that has served me quite well. And then on the aesthetic side, certainly being in the fashion industry, that's my eye is everything. So being able to go into a space and imagining it looking totally different than an average person is probably able to do. I love being able to do that. And then in some cases, helping them transition that space into what we imagined after they bought it. So I think a lot of those skill sets translated seamlessly for me, and I'm super fortunate that they are skill sets that can translate into a plethora of careers should you choose. But there was a really great synergy between what I did and what I do now.
Yeah, great answer. That's awesome. And I know quite a few agents, and like you find that some previous careers lend themselves better to a transition into real estate than others. And it sounded like what you did really set the groundwork. Obviously, like in my experience, often like veterans do extremely well because you're used
Okay.
to that structure and that hard work and that, and then, kind of what you were mentioning, and I found some jobs they tend to do well. Like when I was a manager at a builder, like we used to like hiring from certain like backgrounds and things like that, just because of that experience would transfer well. Even if they didn't have any real estate experience, we knew that's just a matter of teaching them like that floor plan, right? Like that's not a matter of like work ethic and skills. That's more of like we got to teach them real estate, right? Not
Right.
necessarily how to sell. So,
Right. It's like in the fashion industry, critiquing someone's taste level, right? I mean, that's not a skill set you really teach someone. It's kind of, you have it or you don't, or
yeah, exactly.
whatever. And the one other thing that I would add to that is in general, even in my old life, I like disruption. And I like to be disruptive. So even in my own world, old world, I should say, I was never status quo. I was always thinking, I don't want to just figure out how to get a 2 or 3 comp over last year. I want to figure out how to change the trajectory of this business in a big way. I feel the same about real estate. I feel like I'm very different than many of the agents here in terms of my approach. And I don't want to give away everything that I do, but I use some super techie things in terms of being able to connect to people's phones and stuff that no one was using, and it has served me well. But I don't want to go in thinking, how can I just be status quo and transactional and do all those things? I always think about what will be something that's completely differentiating than what anyone else is doing.
Yeah, very, very cool. And you mentioned it a little bit and it partially answered it, but I read some of your amazing reviews that you have all over the internet.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So I wanted to know from you, if there's one thing, right, what do you think differentiates yourself from other agents? Because for people that don't know, Florida or Southwest Florida probably has one of the densest like real estate agent. It's probably one of the densest real estate agent per capita or whatever measurement you want to use
Right.
out there, just because it's pretty easy to get your license. There's a lot of money in it. So I feel like, in our business, differentiation is key because odds are, someone has done what you've done before, at least once or twice. So what do you think differentiates yourself from other agents? And I know you mentioned it a little bit, but if there was like one thing.
Sure. I'm not sure I could say one thing. I think my background is certainly very much a differentiating factor than the balance of probably 90% of the agents down here.
Right.
I would say if I could give a bit of feedback about myself that I've gotten from my clients, it is that I have a very unassuming approach to either getting a listing and or getting a buyer to write on something. Everyone has a different taste level. We might walk into something and they might think it's the most beautiful thing in the world. It might not be for me, right? But I don't give unsolicited opinions. If they ask, I certainly give it to them. But I also take the pressure off immediately. I say, you know what, you guys, go home and think about it. If you want to write on it, great. Here's all the information I'm going to give you. I just went into a development the other day and looked at how many rentals are in there versus owners, and what does that mean for value and all of those things. So I think it's digging below surface level, giving them the information for them to make an educated decision and leaving no stone unturned. Never, ever aggressive or pushy or what do you think? Do you want to buy? It is such a turnoff. And so there are people who said, we didn't even intend to buy, but you were so unassuming. You just gave us the information and made us feel really comfortable to write that offer. And we haven't felt that from a lot of agents down here. I think and it wasn't purposeful. It's just the feedback I've received. So I would say that's probably another.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, very cool. I think what commission breath, right? People,
Right.
I don't know if you heard of that, but people can sense and smell when you haven't had a sale in a while and you want them to, buy this home. So no commission breath.
Look, I'm not going to be Pollyannic. We all need to buy and sell things or list and sell things, to make money. That's what we do for a living. Yeah. But I come from a space of abundance. There's enough for everyone. I do not come from scarcity. And I find that a plethora of people do. It's scratching and clawing, and there's a desperation to it that I totally agree with you that people can sense, smell, taste, all of the things. And so that will not be, it will never be, and that will not pervade down to the people I work with either. We are here to help people make a really great investment decision, and we take that really seriously.
Yeah, awesome. Good, great answer. And we are in the middle of February, so we are kind of still early in the year, right? So I'd like to ask you, and you can share as much or as little as you want, but what are your goals for 2025? I know we talked about some of them a little bit before the show, so I'd like to hear from you. What are your goals here for this year?
Again, I think most people are expecting a monetary answer. I don't have a monetary answer. I would like to grow our team to at least 6 to 8 prior to the end of the year. You and I talked about this a little before we started. I am really making a concerted effort to embrace all things social media and to post more frequently and do the things that I believe will be of interest to people. Not so much, I went to the grocery store today. Great. Here you go. Yeah. Embracing podcasting in general. So I really give you credit. I know that you're in your infancy in this podcast, and I appreciate that you having me on and hopefully helping me help you grow your podcast. So I'm trying to embrace all of those things that hopefully will be consumer facing, that will, eventually lead to a larger business, and if not, a very well-educated community.
Yeah, awesome. Great answer. And maybe for you being on the podcast, maybe I can help you get to your goals. So if anybody wants to learn more about you and your social media and the services that you offer, where would be a good place to start? We'll obviously link kind of all the social media and links and contact information in the description below, but where would be a good place for someone to get in touch with you?
Sure. I mean, so the best place would be Kerry Hartman, Hartman at Compass, Naples. You can contact me through there. You can email me directly. Instagram is K as in kangaroo, Hart, and that's just HART0704. I actually don't know my Facebook handle off the bat, but it'll be listed below. And I'm on LinkedIn. That's an easy one to find. So
Right.
all of those places, any of those places, you can figure out how to contact me.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Kerry, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for shedding some light on your transition into real estate and the real estate market here in South of Florida. I hope people got a lot out of it, and I want to thank you for your time.
Well, it was a pleasure being here, and I wish you all the best growing this podcast. And I will certainly, when this launches, make sure that everybody knows about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Kerry.
And that wraps up another insightful episode of the 239 Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I hope you enjoyed our discussions and gained valuable knowledge to enhance your home ownership journey here in Southwest Florida. A big thank you to our incredible guests and, of course, to you, our listeners, for joining us. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, or if you'd like to connect, feel free to reach out. You can find us on Instagram at @KevinTremmel_real estate, on Facebook at Kevin Tremmel Real Estate, or visit our website, kevintremmel.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your feedback is crucial, and we're always eager to hear from you. Until next time, this is Kevin Tremmel, your host, signing off. See you on the next episode.